Around tax season, I usually feel pretty stressed out just because I have to get all my stuff together. But overall, it's been pretty simple.
I feel okay. I'm kind of in the middle.
In the middle?
Don't love it, don't hate it, yeah.
Overwhelmed. Feel like a lot of my friend group, we all kind of talk about, when things are due.
It used to feel good when I would get a nice return, but I haven't got a big return anymore. So because I make too much at this point and I don't even get anything back. I don't really owe much either, but I don't really get much back. Right. So not too great.
Well, this year we felt really good because we got a refund out of I have no idea how it worked out. But generally, we don't feel too bad about it because we plan all year long for it.
I usually get money back, but I usually only get like a couple $100 at most.
It depends. Last year I had to pay, this year I got a little bit back.
The last few years I've actually owed, but this year I am getting money back.
Yeah, I won't lie to you. I got like almost 10,000 this year. I just went to the website and I heard that people do the taxes themselves.
Yes.
And the other years I always pay people to do taxes for me. And last year I was pissed off and because they used to take $150 to do my taxes, and that guy just say okay, whatever, and like $500 just for his fees.
Okay, so today me and the girls are doing our taxes, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, you think I want to spend the whole day figuring out how much I owe the government? And just between you and me, some of these girls aren't too good at it. I mean, it's not like we're finance majors or anything.
I hate taxes. I tried taking a finance for non-majors class where they taught you how to do your taxes, but they took one look at my princess gown and didn't let me do anything. Princesses can like math too, you know.
I don't really like taxes. They're so confusing and stressful. I got my first real job this year and they sent me something called a W-2, but I also think I lost it somewhere. And now I've stressed myself out so much that I've developed some kind of rash that's only helped by water. Oh, I hope I didn't throw up all my old dingle hoppers.
Can you believe we have to do this every year? As if the government needs any more of our money. Why are you shushing me? You know I'm right.
Yes, I agree, but this is the last place that will take us in all of our princess attire. And it's not like we can do this by ourselves. It's impossible.
Fine, you're right. What are you doing?
Calling Ari so she can listen in. She's stuck at home with the seasickness stuff again.
Oh my god. All right. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
What's up?
So I'm assuming you're gonna need help with everything.
Yes. We're a couple of young college students, and we never really learned how to do our taxes, and we don't want to mess anything up.
Yeah, well, of course you haven't been taught anything. I mean, one look at the three of you, and anyone would be like, they are not interested in taxes. As long as they can afford to go shopping, am I right?
Excuse me?
Come on, don't take it personally, alright? This is just shop talk. I mean, you all know how it is. Let's just leave all the punching numbers and stuff to the experts, okay? I'll just make sure you get a big enough refund so that you can take yourselves out and buy a new ball gown.
I'll have you know, ma'am, that I was the top in all of my math classes, which included AP Calculus and AP Statistics, so I'm pretty good at punching numbers.
Okay, yeah. Let's see here. Tiny dragon-sized clothes, not a write-off. Dingle hoppers, that's not a write-off either. Books?
Hey, what do you got against books? I bet you're one of those people that's been banning all the books in the elementary schools. My sister Melissa works at an elementary school. She says they can't even read Peter Rabbit anymore.
Yeah, because I'm secretly some big fancy lawmaker. Alright, one of you guys doesn't even have a W-2, and you clearly marked that you were employed this year. Alright, you got anything to say for yourself?
You're a real dingle hopper.
We are the real princesses of Center City.
Every worker in the country, farmers, bank presidents, streetcar conductors, dentists, teachers, clerks, mechanics, even unskilled laborers, work 3 months of every year to pay for what government spends. Today, more than 25 cents of every dollar of our national income goes for taxes, local, state, and federal. Each of you pays these taxes, taxes that start with raw materials and compound themselves right down through manufacture to the finished product when we buy it. More than 60% of the taxes collected by the federal government are paid by consumers, and that means every one of us. In collecting these hidden taxes, the busiest tax collectors of all have no titles and wear no badges. They're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Hidden taxes are concealed in most of the things they sell. Taxes on taxes that are passed on to us, who pay when we buy the necessities of life. Before the daily bread can be put on the table, all kinds of different taxes must be paid. Every product, every service that makes for comfort and pleasure in the daily life of the American family is taxed in many ways. Every time my lady dresses, she dons as many taxes as she does clothes. When we relax and seek pleasure and entertainment, Mr. Taxes always joins us, and we must pay for him too. All who drive are drafted into another army of taxpayers. Those who have jobs are footing all these various government bills. Only what is left can be used for the needs and savings of the worker's family.
I guess just not knowing where to get certain resources to learn more about money management. I feel like, young people, we're not really prepared for, we graduate from college and there's nothing, like college doesn't teach you about money management.
That I use it in the wrong way or that I spend it in something that is not as important. So that's why I try to save a little bit and use something for travel, using for leisure, but make sure that I have something already saved.
Well, the economy probably just, it seems like the last 2 years, the economy seems to have been going in completely the wrong direction in terms of the stock market and just the fears of the dollar probably not being valued.
That I think I have enough, and then I look at the end of the month and I'm like, wow, I spent it in a lot more places than I thought. And the scariest part about it is just you think you have enough, and at the end of the month you look back and you're like, wow, I just went somewhere that I don't even know. It just disappears.
I would like to see
Hi, my name is Lucky Marvel. I'm a creative producer here from Every Angle. And today joining us is Sharon Ward, a senior policy advisor with the Education Law Center. Sharon, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks very much for inviting me, Lucky.
Of course. So, it's April, it's spring, it's tax season. Let's get into it. Could you tell us a bit about what you do with the Education Law Center as a senior policy advisor?
Sure. I work with a team of attorneys at the Education Law Center. I'm not an attorney myself, but I work with them. And they do a couple of things. They represent children and parents who are attempting to access education in public schools. And I work with them on state legislation and state budget issues, helping to make the case for more public school funding, funding for students with disabilities, and other types of issues in Harrisburg and here with City Council.
Wonderful, wonderful. Could you tell us a bit about, I saw recently the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania, was it, ruled that that the funding in the state of Pennsylvania was ruled unconstitutional. Could you talk to us about that case, what that means?
Sure. I mean, that is a historic case, and it will result in really big changes to our education funding system. I think people who live in Philadelphia know that our funding system is inadequate. We're not raising and spending enough money to fully fund our schools. And across the region and across the state, it's also inequitable, where school districts that have that are wealthier, that have a larger tax base, are able to raise and spend more money on their kids than we are able to raise here in Philadelphia. So what this lawsuit did was to say that the Constitution, which says it's the General Assembly's responsibility to provide for education, essentially says they're not doing their job, and that the system that they have created is unconstitutional and has to change. And now, over the next couple of years, we'll be working on designing what that new system looks like to make sure every kid has access to a high-quality education that enables them to graduate and go on to a successful career.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing that. Could you talk to us a bit about what those kind of changes, if you are allowed to talk about that, what that game plan kind of looks like and how people may benefit from that?
So the court said the system doesn't work. It doesn't meet the constitutional requirements and has to change. But it's really up to the governor and the General Assembly to make those changes. And the judge directed the people, the parties in the case, to come together and to begin designing that process. They haven't done that yet. We have a new governor. Governor Shapiro's just been in for a couple of months. And so there will be an effort to pull all the parties together and get them to figure out how much is it going to cost? What does it mean to have a fully funded system? How much will that cost? And then how do we distribute the money so that kids who are in the most underfunded districts, Philadelphia, Pottstown, William Penn, various different school districts. How do we ensure that those kids get the resources that they need because they are so much farther behind than kids in a lot of other school districts in the state?
And so property taxes, how do those kind of come into play here? I know from my at least hopefully basic kind of understanding, areas with wealthier incomes, they don't pay as much in property taxes. Is this true, or is this where does all that money go?
Well, so nobody likes taxes. We've got to get that on the table. Okay. People don't like to pay taxes, but paying taxes is really critically important because I like to think of it as community shopping. It enables you to buy things that your community needs that you're not able to pay for yourself, and it's an investment. It really helps to make healthier communities, safer communities, happier communities. So education is funded partly by the state. So when you pay your income taxes to the state on April 15th or whatever it is, some of that money will come back to the school district through state funding. And then in Philadelphia, it's partly property taxes, and there are some other taxes that go to support public schools. But your point's absolutely correct. Low wealth districts like Philadelphia and other places can tax themselves at very high rates and not raise as much money. And that's why we're always behind. And Pennsylvania is a bit of an outlier nationally. Most states fund public education primarily with state dollars, and that helps to get rid of some of the inequities in wealth between districts. Pennsylvania, we're very heavily reliant on local funding, and that means that one school district can, as you said, have a tax rate that's say here and be able to raise lots of money. And what we have is that a lot of the poor districts, their tax rates are up here, and they're still not able to generate a sufficient amount of money because they just don't have that tax base. So that's probably one of the major contributors to the inequities that we have across school districts.
What are like, so for like a school district with like that faces some of these issues, what does that kind of like look like? And yeah.
So one of the things that happened during the trial was that we heard a lot from school superintendents who talked about what they can't provide to their kids. And so you have much larger class sizes, particularly in the elementary grades, where you really want to have more individualized attention. You have terrible facilities. We have pictures, and you could go to, Fund Our Schools PA, and you can see these pictures on the website of kids learning in closets, kids having classrooms that were in like hallways, in basements. I mean, just really a lack of resources. Not having the things that kids need in order to be successful, because part of what happens is that in some of the low wealth districts, kids are also a little farther behind, so they need extra resources, and these school districts just aren't able to provide for the kids. So in a well-funded system, we'd have highly qualified teachers, we'd have decent school buildings. They don't even need to be Taj Mahals, they just need to be decent school buildings. We'd have things like language specialists for kids who are English learners. We'd have reading and math specialists. We'd have all the kinds of things that kids really need in order to succeed. And then you'd have the things that kids just don't get consistently. Music and art and dance, the kinds of things that help kids, in addition to their academics, find something that they love and something that makes them want to come to school, right? So that everyone doesn't always want to go to school for math, but they might want to come to school because they like to be in the drama club or whatever it is. And a lot of our low wealth districts aren't able to really consistently provide that either. So it'll level the playing field, and it'll let kids just learn and grow and be who they can be.
You described it as a community shopping, which I think is amazing. I'm going to start using that and referring to it as that, and it being an investment in the community. When I was in high school, I remember there was a period of time, there was like a referendum, and there was this kind of local argument from people whose kids had either already graduated or had their kids kind of going elsewhere, or were just kind of old and just lived in their homes and their kids were all grown up already. And their argument was, why should I have to pay more for these schools? I'm not getting anything out of that. What do you say to that?
Well, so I guess I'd say two things. One is that three things. One is it benefits even senior citizens to have a well-educated population, because you've got a doctor, a nurse, a firefighter, a police officer, a local government official. You want them to be people that have a level of education so that they can serve you the way you need to be served. So I'd say that's the first thing. The second thing is that in well-funded school districts, the property values tend to be higher. I mean, people want to live in well-funded school districts, and so that means that their homes are worth more. And it's also the case that while they may not have kids in their district, they might have grandchildren who are in another school district, and someone else is paying for them. So it's a little bit of reciprocity. Somebody else is then supporting the education of their grandchildren, and they have, paid for the education of their own kids in their own districts. So I think there's a lot of benefits to senior citizens. Although they do sometimes struggle to pay property taxes, and I think that was part of the issue. And there is a state program that can help senior citizens get some rebates for their property taxes to make it a little bit less of an issue for them.
Cool. Thing here. Oh my goodness. So the city of Philadelphia specifically, is there kind of a breakdown of how tax dollars are allocated that you could?
Sure, sure. So right now, it's almost 50-50. I think there's a little bit more state dollars that come into Philadelphia than local dollars. And what happens is that the school district gets an allocation from the state, just like all the other school districts for education, and then the city raises its own taxes. Philadelphia is different from other communities. We don't have referendum and we don't have an elected school board. Most major cities in the country don't have elected school boards. So really the city government makes a determination as to how much money is going to go to the school district. And right now about 55% of all the property tax revenue that comes into the city goes to the school district. And then there are some other tax dollars that go. Some of the cigarette tax, some of the sales tax. We have a liquor by the drink tax. So every time you go out and have a drink at a bar, you're contributing something to the school district of Philadelphia and some of the kids. So, so those are the kinds of things that go to pay for education here in Philly.
Well, you heard it here first. Drink for the kids. I'm just kidding. Also, April 19th. I think you said 15th earlier.
Oh, sorry,
or
it
something
is.
in that
yeah,
area.
Yeah, it is. I think it's actually a couple of days
said.
later. It's like Monday or something like that. So, yeah.
All good. Well, thank you so much. I guess one last thing I wanted to ask about is this fight for more fair funding. What can people watching at home, what can just we as citizens, what can we as people do to make sure that schools are getting the funds that they need and that their money is going to a place that benefits them and their neighbors and the people around them?
So it's really important that people communicate with their state legislators and communicate with the governor and really be politically involved. This is not going to be an easy fight. There are people who believe that schools get too much money and they don't particularly care whether or not, some kids are not getting the resources they need. So it's going to be a fight. And we could use help. You can go to Fund Our Schools PA, you can go to Education Voters PA, go to Education Law Center's website, and folks can communicate. And really, that's it. Write emails, use Twitter, use everything to just kind of let lawmakers know that you want to see the state fully fund education and get rid of the terrible inequities that we have for kids, particularly kids of color in this city and state.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This has been From Every Angle, and thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lucky.
Oh, wait.